Hello, everyone. Welcome to Digital Publishing Online, and I'm Lisa Gabrielle. I'm your facilitator for this course. This is the first of many videos I'll be creating for this course to review things like your assignments, project handouts, lessons that you do in the book. I like to give you a little extra visuals and a little extra information that I couldn't possibly write out. So this is really the best way to do it. So you'll be seeing these videos in YouTube. You'll have access to them. You can watch them there, and you can watch them as many times as you like, so that you can get the information down path. In this video, I am going to review with you your first project in the class. And I've chosen an interesting exercise for this course and just a little bit of a couple statements about the course. Some of you might be taking this digital publishing course and have no background at all in graphic design or in computer graphics, but many of you in the course are in it because you're working on the degree and you've had a lot of experience with other courses that help with this course. I don't want to use the word prerequisite, but many of you might have other courses under your belt, such as digital imaging, which is using Photoshop, and basic graphic design, which is designing the basics of design using InDesign and Illustrator. If you've got those courses, they're going to help you immensely in here. I'm actually coming into this course at that level with assuming that most of you have experience with those particular subjects. And so this, in a sense, is like an advanced class in InDesign. So those of you that don't have experience with that, you're going to have a tough time. I'll just tell you up front, because this class is designed as a second level class in our degree, and so a lot of the people are coming into it with prior experience. So just to let you know. I will give you reference material for those of you who are doing this for the first time, and this is your very first computer graphics or graphic design course. I have reference material that you can use to read and look at. There's also a reference list that I've posted in the first week of the course in the coursework area. I'll go in here and click on that. Um, in the week one of the course, there is a handout in here called suggested reading list. And here I have some suggested books that you might want to look into. I also have other um, terminology and things that I might use in this class that you're going to need to be aware of. You may hear me use some of these words in lecture. I might even refer to this handout during lecture and explain some of the meaning of some of these words. So I'm just letting you know if you've had any 2D classes prior to this class, then those will also be very, very helpful for you. But those of you that don't have any experience at all, this will feel like a fast-paced course to you because I'm starting at the assumption that most of you have some experience in either computer graphics or graphic design. Okay, so jumping into the first project here. So let's bring it up here. Syllabus. Okay, here we go. So the first project in this class is what I like to call the typographic variations book. And this is a lengthy project. You'll be working on this for the first 7 weeks of this class. And during the course of the project, you'll be designing a 34-page book all yourself. And it will be a project that will work in phases. So if you're looking at the project handout right now and you're thinking, oh my God, is this all due by next week? It's not. If you looked at all at the syllabus, you may have noticed that the way the course is structured is there are lectures, which are these lectures here that you're watching right now. There's projects, which is this project that I'm about to review with you. And then there are technology lessons, which follow along through the classroom in a book for InDesign. So there's three components of the class. Of course, you're going to need to succeed at all three of them to, ace the course. But there's all kinds of areas that you can find yourself either excelling or struggling with, such as some of you might struggle with technology, others might struggle with the design, some of you might struggle with both. So you're going to kind of find out where you fall in all of this. And you'll also find out if computer graphics or graphic design is the field for you, if this is your very first class. Some of you already know I'm committed. I love it. Um, so for this project here, this is a design project. This project will call upon all of the things that you will learn during your technology lessons that you follow along in the book. And a lot of the book lessons actually ask you to um, do a lot of the things you'll be using for this project. So rest assured, this is not due by next week, and we will take this project step by step. But when you're completed with it, you will end up with a 30-page or 34 or more page book that you've designed entirely yourself. So it's quite an accomplishment. So I guess all I can say at this point is hang in there. Trust me, most students that get through this project just love the results. And I'm going to show you some student samples in this video. And hopefully you'll be impressed by them, as impressed as I am by them, and see what you can do with it. So again, back to this project handout. The purpose of this project will be to explore working with text and typography design. So the essence of this book is not to explore photography and illustration and graphic elements, although at one point you do get into some simple graphic elements, but mostly what you'll be dealing with in this book is text and text only. And for some people, that might be quite scary if you're an image person and you like working with images and drawings and making art and such. You may have never even thought or considered to work with just text. So that's why this project is important, because it's going to push some of your limits. You will also be working with the same text on most of the pages. So the majority of the project will involve working with a poem that I've provided you in this assignment here. If I scroll down here, there's the last sheet of this handout, there's a poem here, and it says, "This poem below is the only copy you will use in your type variations book. It must be used in its entirety each time and can only be used once per page." So this poem, this very poem right here, is the only text you will be using in your entire book. Now, there will be some other areas that will be customized, and I'll be talking about those, but for the most part, you'll be designing this text in 24 different ways. And it actually becomes quite fun after a while. At first, it's a little annoying, but everybody kind of gets on board after the first week or two. As you progress through the book, eventually, some of the later phases of the book, you'll be using photos and possibly some illustrations if you'd like. And what I kind of say here is to kind of think of this project as the fine art of typography or the fine art of text. And you may have never even considered text as being fine art at all, but you're going to see throughout the course of this project that text itself, letter forms, and type can be quite creative when forced to only use it. So some of the objectives are listed here about what are the things we're going to explore. We're going to hopefully search for solutions involving addition, subtraction, and omission of certain text elements. We're going to hopefully look at varied options for manipulating text in a typographic space. We're going to work with the grid, and we're never going to forget how important the grid is after this project. So the grid will become central and focus, a focal point for all of your compositions. And lastly, we're going to consider the individual elements of each composition as well as the entire whole of the page. So That'll be explained a little more later, but what they do call that is gestalt. So there is a term that is used to describe exactly that consideration of the pieces parts as opposed to the whole of the element. So we'll be working with that concept quite a bit in this project. So as I said, it will eventually be a 34-page book, but the breakdown of pages are 24 pages of compositions of the phases, and the phases are listed here in the next page. So you have phase 1 through 8 here that you'll be dealing with. So those are the phases. And you'll be designing 8 chapter pages describing the contents of each phase. So just kind of think of those as intro pages to each phase. You'll be designing one cover and one table of contents listing all of the pages in the book. And then if you choose to do any additional pages, you can add a colophon, which is a page that kind of gives you information about how the book was produced. Leaf pages, which could be just decorative pages that you add to the book that enhance the visual of the book or the visual aesthetic of the book. Um, and anything else that you would like to add in. Unfortunately, this book has always been done in my face-to-face class, and the students were able to actually get them printed, and they could explore paper and different paper stocks and all kinds of different binding options. But since this is an online class, your final will be a PDF, and then I will have you develop a EPUB of your final book. So you'll be creating 2 formats in the end, a PDF and an EPUB. The project criteria, you will only be able to use 2 typefaces in the entire book, either Times or Times New Roman. I think that covers it, both Mac or PC, and or Helvetica or Arial, which is PC and Helvetica's Mac. And those are the 2 most common: serif, Times being the serif selection, and sans serif, Helvetica being the sans serif selection there. So the typefaces are going to be pretty much minimal. You will not be able to use type style to represent a concept. You will have to use the way you lay out your text, the way you space out your text, the way you add weight to your text to emphasize meaning. So, really, by stripping out the fact that you can go on any website and download a typeface that says, "Hey, look at me, I look like, child play, or I look like gummy worm, or whatever." You can't really download a typeface here because you have to use only these 2 typefaces. So you're stripped of that option of being able to use typeface to show style. So how else can you show style? That's part of the solving the problem. In addition to the typeface that you'll be choosing, which is one of those 2, you have to create a label system for your book. And I'll just show you a sample of what I mean by that. And I have a couple of things. I'll go ahead and bring up the examples that I have here. These are 3 that students designed last semester. And actually, this is not on the page. Put it on the home or the cover page. These are 3 different books that were designed by students, and these are their cover designs. So you can see the reason I'm showing you 3 here is because there are a million ways to solve this problem. I am not saying that I want your book to look exactly like one of these 3. I'm saying that your book will probably look nothing like one of these 3. But these are samples of where the book can go. Okay, so understand this is a design class, and in a design or creative or artistic class, the expectation is that you problem solve something original that hasn't been done. So these are just examples of how some students have solved the problem. So back to what I was saying, just in case we forgot, because I kind of got off track there. I was talking about the label system here. So as part of each page of the book, you will be designing a label system that describes what is happening on that particular page. So to show you an example of that, we'll use this one here. If I kind of peruse through this, here's the first page of his book, and it's using the phase alignment. And this here, just to show you an area there, I don't actually want that to show up, but this area that's in blue, I guess I can't delete that, is showing you the label area that was designed by this particular student. So his label needs to include certain information, and that information is listed here in your assignment handout. So inside the label area, you have to include the name of the typeface you've used, how many point sizes are being used on the page, the justification method, the column number, the phase name, and the page number, or folio as we call them in digital publishing. Okay, so if we jump back here to the examples, we will see that he indeed has that. Here's his typeface number. He's using a centered and left justified copy. He's got a one column design here, and his point size is 9 point. Okay, so this is his label. Now this student over here, his label system is this. It's portraying the exact same information about his 6x6 composition here, but his label design is completely different. So your label design will be completely different. Notice the way he treated his page number versus the way he treated his page number. So let's take a look at this student's example here of how he did his label design. So here are 3 student books and 3 page ones and 3 unique examples of how you can solve the first page of your book. And also 3 unique examples of how to design a possible label system. So if I zoom in on this one, which is a little bit hard to see, so I'm going to kind of zoom in a little bit here, give myself a hand, and we can scroll over here, and you can kind of see that the same information is being presented here. Helvetica Neue, flush right copy. He's got 1 column, and he's using 7 point. Okay, so that is what I'm looking for in terms of, whoops, I wanted to get this back into play here so we can get it back into view. Okay, so that's a couple examples of the label. All right, so let's go back here. So the cover designs, we did see those on the last example that I showed you. So I'll go ahead and click back. So these are 3 cover designs that students had done for this book. All of them quite nice. All of them work for this project, but they're all uniquely different. And also you have an option, you can add photography if you want to the cover design, that's fine. These 3 students didn't choose to do that. They added in some art and some graphic elements instead. Okay, now the table of contents, that's another option. It's not an option, it's a requirement. That's another part of the book that you're going to need to design as well. And let me just show you the 3 different unique designs for that. So this is his table of contents here. This is his table of contents here. So he, whoops, he has his, let's see, somehow I lost my little bar at the top here. And then on this one, his table of contents is here. So all of these table of contents have pretty much the same exact information in them, except other than the page numbers or might be a little bit different. But they all look uniquely different. So I hope this gives you a good example of how many different ways that there is to solve this problem. Okay, so let's scroll through here to the next page of the handout and talk a little bit about how each page should come together. So on each page of your book, you will have an area that you will design a 6 by 6 composition. And if I'm going to kind of jump around a little here so that you can sort of see this, but I have a document open here and I have a page that's in InDesign here that I can show you. And basically what I'm talking about by 6 by 6 composition, I'm talking about this one area right here. So there's this area, which is this area right here. This is a 6 by 6 box. And inside here, again, this is another student's design, is the design for your first phase. So for your first phase, going back to here, you're going to be doing 3 different designs. One design for a 1 column. Let me go ahead and plus this up here a little bit so you can see this. Okay, so phase 1, I'm going to go ahead and select this here. Phase 1, you'll be designing 3 pages. And that's noted here, you'll be designing 3 pages. 1 page will be for each column design. So you'll have a 1 column design, you'll have a 2 column design, and you'll have a 3 column design. Okay, so 3 pages total, 1 page for each column, and each column being 1 column, 2 column, 3 column. Okay. Now, during the course of designing those 6 by 6 compositions, you will be using some of these techniques, such as alignment, justification, which is the way text lines up on a page, whether it be flush left or flush right. Justified is when text is square on both left and right, so it creates like a box, so to speak. And then centered text, everybody kind of knows what that is. Text that's all kind of centered elegantly. A lot of times you see centered text on invitations and things like that. In addition to using some of these features to create your 1, 2, and 3 column designs, you can also use letter spacing, such as you can space letters far away from each other. You can space them close to each other. You can also use line spacing, and another name for line spacing is leading. So you can increase the leading so that all of the lines are very far from each other, where they fill up a lot of the 6 by 6 area. You can also use tight leading, where all of the lines are very close to each other, and you don't use up a lot of the 6 by 6. A lot of the 6 by 6 areas turns into white space. So all of these are possibilities, and these are the only possibilities you have for phase 1. So in other words, in phase 1, you have to do 3 columns. You have to do 3 designs, a 1 column design, a 2 column design, and a 3 column design. And then you could use some of these features, or you can use all of these features in all of those different compositions. And some of the things you cannot do at this phase is number 1, and a lot of students miss this because maybe they weren't listening or maybe they just forget, but in phase 1, all of the text in your 6 by 6 composition has to be the same point size. Okay. So make sure if you choose a point size, now if we go back and look at the example here, you'll see that if I zoom up on this one, this student here is using an indent. So he's using some, I would call this line spacing and indents. He's also using some interesting paragraph spacing in between, or leading in between this up here and this block of text here. He's also staying with all his text is using one specific point size, including his header and his subhead. So there's some criteria that you have to follow per phase. But as you grow with your phases, you can increase your capabilities by having more to work with these compositions. Again, here's another example of a 1 column a solution where this student is doing a completely different thing than this student is, so you can kind of see the difference, but they're still one column solutions. This one here, oops, is this student's solution here, where his, and again, this is what we call justified text right here, where text creates like this square, like this. This over here would be called flush left, or no, I'm sorry, flush right, rag left. So it's, yeah, it's flush to the right along this edge, and this kind of jagged edge is called rag. Okay, so this is flush right, rag left, and this text is flush left, so everything is flushed on this side, and a rag right. So those are the three options, and I think the other one would be centered, and this text right here is centered, just to give you a couple examples. Okay, all right. So I didn't want to get into too much detail because I'm going to talk a lot more about these phases, but to give you an idea of how that the phase system works. And then it talks here about setting up your different 6x6. Now, I will be posting a video of precisely how to get started on this book, how to set up the 6x6 area, how to set up your margins. If you're curious what it's going to look like in that demo and how that's all going to pan out, I gave you a handout here, and this kind of describes what I'm going to go over in that video, how to set up these pages. This is your 6x6 composition right here. And inside this 6x6 composition is where you're going to design all your phase work. Okay, you're going to have this grid back here, and we're going to set that up in the demonstration. Here is the information about your label system. So talking about your label, everybody will have a label system that will probably be to the far right of their page. This out here is the book page itself. So this is the page that will consist of the entire, whatever page this is, page 13. And you'll have quite a wide margin. So I've given you some criteria here. And again, you don't have to set this up by yourself. I'm going to do this in a demonstration, and you can download it in YouTube and watch it and set it up yourself. And again, page 4 is your text that is required for the book. Okay. So I had this example that I had open here of a students that had worked on this in the past. And just to give you an overview real quick, in InDesign, you'll be creating a series of, let me open this up here. You'll be creating a series of master pages over here. And from those master pages, you'll be creating all of the book pages that populate your 34-page book. If I'm scrolling through here, you can kind of see all the pages the student designed. And of course, this will be part of a demonstration also during the process of setting up the pages. I'm going to go over how to set up master pages. What are master pages used for? How do you get them to work with multi-pages down here in the book area? So all of that will be explained, but for the most part, I just wanted to give you an overview of what the project was about. Hopefully, I have created some interest and inspired you to possibly look forward to getting started on this project. Okay, you can post any questions you have on the project in the problems and solutions area. Until next time.